timing. And so the universe then has no choice. First attribute of the secret place. The secret place is a place of revelation. It makes you free because it awakens you and makes you consciously aware that everything that you thought was holding you is an illusion. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, those of you who have tuned in and those who are on their way. We're going to give it a few moments and wait for them to come in. That's really the purpose behind the countdown, so that people can go ahead and jump on. I don't know why everybody just waits until afterwards, and then I have to fill in time and talk and wait for others to join us. But nevertheless, that's what I'll do. I hope you've all had a really wonderful, productive, and exciting day. It's good to see those of you who are on right now. Go ahead and say something. Say hello or good evening or something to let me know who's here. Hello, Amanda. Good to see you. Good to see you. The others of you who are on, say something. Good evening, hello, or something. So I'll know who's out there and who's on. And while you're doing that, also go ahead and begin to tag and share. Tag and share. Good to see you, Yvette. Good to see you, Mashara. It's good to see you. I've been missing you. It's good to see you. I'm glad that you were able to jump on tonight. Go ahead and tag as many people as you can and share this broadcast on your page. Those of you watching on YouTube Live, copy the link and share it in your group text or with all your friends so that they're able to jump on and watch live as well. Good to see you, Kiwi. Oh, you driving? Yeah, you don't need to do any more texting. Just listen. But I'm glad you tuned in. I'm glad that you are tuned in. Glad you're tuned in. Good to see you. Good. So go ahead and do that real quickly, and I'm not going to be on really long. I've got somewhere else I've got to be in about in a little while. I've got to be there by 9:30, and so I'm not going to be on very long. But I wanted to come on real quickly and continue this conversation a little further, because I know tomorrow night when we come back on, it's going to be a little more extensive. Because the last element that we're going to look at will be gates, and that is very extensive. There's several different texts and perspectives that we want to look at gates from and what they represent, spiritual gates. And so I wanted to come on tonight and just kind of recap what we've covered so far and add to it windows in a very brief way, but comprehensive still. To leave space for tomorrow night when we will deal with spiritual gates and what they represent and how they function and operate, and how you can access those spiritual gates, how they are designed to serve you. I hope that you are recognizing that the main thrust and the main focus of the Emerge movement, all of these times that we come on to have these conscious conversations, they are all designed and geared and focused and targeting ways to help you to be able to create the very best life that you can, to create an abundant, prosperous life, a life of wealth and exponential increase, for you to be able to live a life that is productive and that you can leave a legacy once you finally finish and transition from this form to the next one, that you will have left a legacy that has a positive impact on every person that you've encountered. I hope that you recognize that that is the main thrust. That is what we are designed and motivated to do. That is my purpose. It is to empower you, not to hype you, not to get you excited and jumping and hollering and screaming, not to manipulate or control you, not to give you a bunch of gimmicks and games, but to give you practical tools that you can use, that you can actively put to use immediately to begin to revolutionize your life, that will help you to evolve and grow and develop and to become the highest version of yourself. That's what every single encounter, every lesson, every teaching is designed to do. Okay, every time I come on, every time we gather together as a group, it is with that particular purpose in mind. And I'm not giving you information just to demonstrate what I know or try and come across as a super smart or intelligent, nor to just give you information for information's sake, but to give you information for your practical use, because I believe that the reason you are tuning in, the reason that those of you who have partnered and connected, is because you have a sincere, earnest desire to improve the quality of your life. If that's not your desire, then you are wasting both our times. If you are not sincere, if you are not really motivated to improve the quality of your life and live your best life, the highest version of yourself, to live in consistent, perpetual abundance, then you're in the wrong place, tuned into the wrong place. If you just want someone to hype you up and give you a lot of spiritual calisthenics and acrobatics and slap your neighbor and turn around 3 times and hikkamashanda bohosha, then there are plenty of other people who are on who will give you exactly that. There are plenty of places you can go for that. That's not my purpose. It's not my assignment. My assignment and purpose and intention is to empower people, to empower you, not to make you dependents and make you spiritual cripples, not to be your enabler, but to empower you so that you are able to do for yourself. Because please understand, God will not do for you what it has empowered you to do for yourself. Let me say that again. God will not do for you. There is no knight in shining armor. Prince Charming ain't coming. Okay? God will not do for you what it has empowered you to do for yourself. And you have been crowned and you have been blessed and you have loaded and coated within you the infinite, limitless, boundless, omnipotent power that is the ability and authority of God, loaded and coded into your DNA. You can do all things. Let me say that again. You can do everything, all things, through the anointing, that's the Christos, the Christ, the anointing that is in you, moving through you and as you, strengthening and empowering you with the necessary ability to do. So in fact, ladies and gentlemen, you are not dependent upon God swinging down its sweet chariot and swooping in and coming to the rescue. You are not in need of that. You are nobody's damsel in distress. You are nobody's victim. Your life is not happening to you, it is happening for you. Everything is working together for good, and you are more than a conqueror. So you are fully equipped, you are fully capable to be able to do what you choose to do with your life in this life. And you are able to not only tunnel through, go around, but then to build and create the world that you desire. And you have understood now through the teaching, you have shifted your mind and your perception and perspective. And so you understand that you don't really have trials and troubles and all of those heartaches and pains, but what you really have are opportunities for growth. You have growth opportunities. You have opportunities for you to expand and to grow and to evolve and to develop. You have opportunities that are created to place a demand on your divinity so that you can rise to the occasion, because the capacity to overcome and to handle it will emerge from within you. So you no longer classify those events and issues and circumstances and situations or even relationships as anything negative, like a test or trial or heartache or pain or suffering. You understand that they are opportunities for growth. They are growth opportunities because you have changed how you view the circumstances and situations of your life. You recognize that some of those events and circumstances and situations are actually doors that are there to connect you to an opportunity for you to expand and to grow. They are doors, and some are portals that are prepared to transport you and catapult you into a different time and space and dimension, so that you are able to access the glory that is the mind of God, the thoughts of God, the isness of God, in the ether, and begin to understand what is the length, the breadth, the depth, the width, and look and see beyond. That you have elevated like an eagle, spreading its wings, flying high above, so you can look down from a higher perspective and see the panoramic totality of the circumstance, so that you understand that while it may not feel good right here, over here it shows where it is connected, intertwined with this, and working together for good. So you don't mind dealing with the challenge here because of the reward that you know that is coming. You don't mind dealing with the difficulty here because of what you know the outcome is going to be. That is what we are giving you. That is what we are offering you. That is how we are empowering you, so that you don't walk around here sometimes up, sometimes down, sometimes level to the ground, or worried about some mythological devil that's on your track trying hard to turn you back, and all those other cliches and anomalies, but that you understand that you are living an intentional, purposeful life. You are living an intentional, purposeful life, and you are loaded, coded, and filled with potential and possibilities and power to create the life that you live in, and you live in the reality that you create. Let me say it again. You live in the reality that you create. You live in the reality of your own thoughts, your own mind, your visioning, your imagination, and what you have emitted from within you is now crossing the barriers of time and space, grabbing the elements and particles necessary within the universe and nature to bring into manifestation a three-dimensional form of that which you have accepted as your dominant thought, believed and embraced as your truth. That is the basis, the foundation, the activation of your faith. And that faith has the responsibility. Do you hear what I'm saying? Your faith is the substance, the foundation, the power of the thing that you have a hope or expectation of, and your faith it does not supply you the evidence of things not seen. Your faith is the evidence. Your faith is proof positive. The fact that you have faith for it is proof positive that what you are expecting actually exists, and it is waiting to be manifested in three-dimensional form. Are you understanding what I'm saying to you tonight? Oh, I know that was a whole mouthful, but I'm working with a short amount of time with a lot that I want to recap and a one piece that I want to add in. And so we have talked about the fact that that because we are divine spiritual beings, that we are not merely humans that are having a spiritual experience, but that we are actually a divine spirit, the divine image, likeness, reflection of God, now consciously aware of itself, consciously aware through the vehicle of our soul, of ourself, consciously aware of itself being human in three-dimensional form. You are in essence the offspring of God. You are in essence, in reality, in totality, the offspring of God, that is God manifested in three-dimensional form or flesh, consciously aware of its manifestation. So you are spiritually aware, but also earthly, worldly aware of yourself, aware of your surroundings, and then aware of your origin story, that I come and emanate from the ether, the isness, the mind of God, breathe into this three-dimensional form so that God may express and experience itself in multiple forms, that is all of humanity in the earth realm. And God now, if it is going to experience and express itself, then it does so through our natural form. We are the eyes through which it sees, the mouth by which it speaks, the hands and feet by which it walks, the earthly body by which it senses the sensations of this three-dimensional form. And so in order for us to exist as God in this earth, we had to then have a form that mirrored the makeup of the construct of the earth. And so our physical body, this three-dimensional form, was formed from the dust of the earth. That is to say, from the elements of the earth, those four elements, earth, wind, fire, and water, are what make up this three-dimensional form that is a reflection of the realm or the dimension that in which it exists. This body reflects the earth. It is yes, it reflects the earth. It is a manifested a manifestation of the earth that is designed to encase for the spirit and soul to inhabit, so that it can experience and express itself. But while the spirit and soul is localized and inhabits this three-dimensional earth suit, it does not lose its omnipresence. So it is present everywhere while inhabiting in this singularity. Let me say that again, that your soul and spirit still remains omnipresent while inhabiting this singularity or being individualized in this three-dimensional form. And what has happened is that most, as we enter this plane of consciousness, being bombarded with the information of this world system from our families and culture, environment, religion, experiences, and trauma, began to lose connection or consciousness with our omnipresence and our own divinity, thinking, being convinced, because we consistently heard that we were only human. But many of you that are watching me now have had that great awakening where you understand that you are not mere humans, but that you are divine spirits that inhabit a human form, experiencing humanity. It is with that understanding, then you know that you still remain an omnipresent and omnipotent, all-powerful being, able to be consciously aware of itself in every place, space, and time, and able to do whatever it desires or seeks to do in this three-dimensional world and across the multiverse. And the way that we are able to experience ourselves consciously in those other places and spaces and times is through spiritual portals and doors and windows and gates. Yes, those are the vehicles that are designed for us to be able to fully express and experience ourselves across the multiverse, is through spiritual portals and doors and windows and gates. And we learned, and if you have any comments or questions, put them in there, but don't hesitate, because again, I'm working on limited time, so I've got to get through this pretty quickly. So don't hesitate to put your questions up. But again, just to recap, a portal, a spiritual portal, is a passageway connecting dimensions across the multiverse. We understood that there is not just this one singular world, universe, planetary system, or Milky Way of three-dimensional existence, but that from Hebrews chapter 11, in two places, the writer makes it clear that God not only created this world, world, but created worlds outside of this dimension and within this dimension. Hebrews 11 verses 1 and 2 says, that now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not. Hebrews chapter 1, rather, verses 1 and 2 say, God, who in sundry times and in days, divers manners, spoke to us in times past by the prophets, has in these last days spoken unto his Son, whom he has appointed heir of all things, by whom also he made not the world, but the worlds. Yes, plural. All of the dimensions and times and spaces. In Hebrews 11 and 3, it says, through faith, we understand that the worlds, plural, were framed by the word of God, so that those things which are seen are made by those things which do not appear. So we understand that there are worlds outside of this three-dimensional world. It is solidified with Paul's experience that he gives us in some detail in 2 Corinthians, where he says, I knew a man once, whether in the body or out of the body, I cannot tell. In other words, he's saying, I encountered a being from another dimension, and I knew that he wasn't the ordinary three-dimensional form, and so I'm trying to determine whether he was in this form or another form, but I know that he was caught away into what he described as a third heaven, or into a higher dimension, another plane of consciousness, where it experienced things, heard things in a language that he was not able to begin to utter. And Paul says that's the person that if you're going to glorify anyone, glorify someone like that. He shouldn't glorify him either, because he is just another version of ourselves, just another divine spirit, but manifested in a different dimensions. But it solidifies that there are other worlds, and that there are portals that connect the dimensions, that passageways that intertwine all of the different dimensions across the multiverse, and that we are able to not only access them, but to go through them and experience ourselves, that is, become consciously aware of ourselves in different times and spaces and different dimensions. Let me say that again. To experience ourselves in different times and spaces. That's what some would call time travel, even though we understand time is an illusion. It is not a constant. That's why we have daylight saving time and different time zones, because time is not a constant. It is an illusion. But that through these spiritual portals, we can become consciously aware of ourselves in different times and spaces, as well as different dimensions, and experience ourselves and other life forms in their place of habitation. Hallelujah. And I know I'm talking fast because I'm trying to just recap and then add windows before I have to go, okay? To set us up for tomorrow night, okay? So those are dimensions of spiritual portals. And we saw another example of this when Philip meets the eunuch the Ethiopian eunuch and has this dialogue and conversation with him that leads to the eunuch wanting to be baptized, and Philip takes him into the river to baptize him. And when he is submerged in the water, when he comes up out of the water, Philip has disappeared, and we find from the text that Philip is now next seen in Azaroth, that is some 30 to 40 miles from Gaza. Almost in an instant, he leaves from Gaza and appears in Azaroth, some 30 to 40 miles away, because he steps through a spiritual portal, or the space-time continuum, a time warp, or a wormhole, as the scientists call it, and comes out in a different time and a different space as he passes through. Now, this is symbolized, that is one that is an actual event, but there are portals that are symbolized from the Old Testament to the New. I think I mentioned one a few weeks back when I talked about Moses and the children of Israel crossing the Red Sea. The Red Sea represents, or is an allegory of, a spiritual portal by which they were able, it connected two different worlds, and so they were able to transition out of one world of existence through the portal of the Red Sea and came out into a different world that was the wilderness. Y'all, the wilderness of Sinai. So they went from one world, a world of Egypt, a three-dimensional, it represents, or allegorical analysis of a three-dimensional world, and then passing through the portal and entering an interspace that is the wilderness of Mount Sinai. And then from there, you'll find that they will cross through another portal, Galilee, and enter into the promised land. You understand? Each of them are just an analogy that represents spiritual portals. And we see this again when Elijah and Elisha cross over Jordan, and they go through a portal to come to the other side, where Elijah is taken away, transported through another portal, and Elijah goes back now through the portal that he had traveled and comes back to the world that he is familiar to, but he is now equipped with something he didn't have after having gone, before he crossed over the portal the first time. And I'm here to tell you that the purpose of spiritual portals is not to just quell your curiosity or for you to have an adventure, but to allow you access to different times, spaces, and dimensions, so that you will be empowered and equipped with understanding, knowledge, revelation, insight, and inspiration that you would not have had you not passed through that portal and had the encounters that you had in those spaces. Then you bring that experience with its knowledge and inspiration and revelation back to this dimension of time and employ it here, as well as empower others. What has given me the capacity and the ability to communicate this with you tonight, as well as many of the other teachings, is my experiences with passing through spiritual portals and having encounters with beings from other dimensions that I was able to glean information, insight, revelation, revelation and understanding from. And then now, after having come back, again, those are anthropomorphic terms, to my consciousness in this plane of consciousness, able to now share what I experienced and learn and empower you. So these portals are spiritually significant in that they empower you and equip you with levels of understanding, revelation, and knowledge that you will only discover having experienced past the passage through them into different dimensions and encountering other versions of life forms or beings that exist in those places. Woo! That's portals. How much time I got? Greg, there, I gotta hurry. Gotta hurry. Yeah, 15 minutes, and then I'm gonna be through. And then we looked at spiritual doors. Unlike portals, doors, as we understood, are significant. Spiritual doors, they are both an entrance and an exit that connects opportunities, that create, connect, and enable, or are the catalyst for or empower opportunities for growth, development, evolution, and for encounters that will bring influence or for you to influence others. And we saw different examples throughout biblical text of doors being open. We first mentioned the one where John speaks in Revelation and he hears the voice of God saying to the church that is in Philippi. Again, this is analogous. These are not literal churches. This is not a literal event, but it is John using the vocabulary of his own time to try and describe what he is seeing in a different time. John himself travels through a spiritual portal and is transported to a different time and space that we call future, and he sees things there that does not exist in the time that he is consciously aware of. So he has then to use the vocabulary of his time that he's conscious of to try and describe events and apparatus that he sees in this other dimension and time and space, that he to try and describe it. And so since there was no such thing as a helicopter that existed in his time, he used his vocabulary from the time that he was consciously aware and began to describe it as a beast coming up out of the water with a long tail of a scorpion and wings like a locust. Are you understanding what I'm saying? He calls it a beast because that was the only terminology that he had to describe what he was seeing. And sometimes as you pass through portals into other worlds, you will encounter things that exist in a different time, space, and dimension while only being equipped with the vocabulary of this time that you are conscious of. And so you try and come up with words to articulate what you have seen, heard, and experienced in those dimensions. But then the scripture says a door was open and he was told to come up hither, and he walked through a door connecting him to an opportunity to grow, to see, to understand, to comprehend, to access glory that he had not accessed before. Are you understanding me? And so when doors are set before us and they are open, they are an opportunity. There is an opportunity on the other side of it that will advance us, us, that will move us forward and develop us. Yes, because doors, again, are both an entrance and an exit. And so it necessitates that when we pass through doors, that we have a willingness to disconnect from what has been in order to get to what shall be. Oh my goodness, that we have a willingness to detach ourselves and not be married to whatever particular situation, circumstance that we might have become comfortable with, so that we are able to open ourselves to a larger, expansive view and perception that gives me the opportunity to grow, develop, and evolve, thereby empowering me again to be more impactful in the time that I am most consciously aware of and that I live in. Are y'all understanding what I'm saying? And there are open doors and closed doors. I got to do this real quickly. And there are open doors and closed doors. Those doors that are set open, they stand open always, waiting for you to arrive and to walk into them. The closed doors are of three forms. There are manual doors in which you have to apply pressure and force in order to open that door. There are also automatic doors where all you have to do is show up, and your presence, yes, will cause the door to open. And then there are time sensitive doors that open at a specific time, and that if you don't arrive at the place at the appointed time, it will remain open just for that moment and then close, and you have to wait until the cycle runs again so that the door can reopen and you're able to enter in. Not every opportunity is perpetual. Some of them are time sensitive, and then some are automatic doors that just demand your presence for you to walk up to it, and your presence will cause the door to open and allow you space to walk into opportunities that you didn't even have to work for, sweat for, and didn't even have to plan for. You just happen to be in the right place at the right time. And then there are other doors that are manual that you have to apply yourself to in order to open them. You have to have the strategy, the thought, the effort, the time, the willingness to push the door open so that you are able to go through the passageway and enter into that opportunity. And then there are doors that set closed, and he says when the door is closed, this represents two things. One is protection, and then number two is isolation. It is either protection to keep anything on the other side of the door from coming nigh your dwelling place, or it is for isolation to keep you from going back to something that you need to cut loose and move on from. Oh my goodness, and place a demand on you to rise to the strategic challenge of the moment that will cause you to see yourself from a higher and a more powerful perspective. Are y'all understanding the words that are coming out of my mouth? I'm trying to tell you that these doors are closing, not because God is doing anything against you, because God is inextricably and decidedly for us, but it is because either to protect protect us or to isolate us, to put a demand on us so that we rise strategically to the moment and the challenge, therefore seeing ourselves at a higher dimension than we had ever imagined or seen before. And that leaves me just a few minutes, let me see here, 5 minutes to go across windows. Windows are not a passageway. Windows is an opportunity for observation. Let me say it again, that when God opens a spiritual window, or when you intentionally, deliberately create and open spiritual windows, it is for you to be able to observe. Goodness, what comes to mind is Jeremiah when he is observing the potter with the clay that's on the wheel. And most times people preach this text and leave out the context of the first person, Jeremiah, when that they notice God as the potter working on the clay, and the clay are the people in which God is working and molding and building, and the project that God is working to expand and grow. But then there is Jeremiah, yes, who is the person of leadership influence, yes, my goodness, who is left out of that equation of potter and clay and left to just simply observe from the window. And so by watching, he gains information, insight, and relief and knowledge that he would never have seen or understood had he been too close in proximity to the circumstance. He would have looked at it subjectively rather than objectively. So the window's open to give you a bird's eye view, an objective view into things, not only in this three-dimensional world, but to look through the window and observe in other spaces, times, and dimensions, worlds that exist, so that you are able to view objectively. Now, God not only allows you to view into other dimensions, times, and spaces, but sometimes allowing a window of time, a window to open a circumstance or a situation to allow you access to see things that are taking place, and as they form, that you are not physically present to see. Are you hearing me? I'm talking about hearing conversations that you're not present where it's taking place. I'm talking about seeing strategies and plans of individuals where you are not physically present to witness it coming together, but you are seeing through a window, giving a bird's eye view and observation to what is taking place. Do you understand that your name is being mentioned in spaces that you're not even consciously aware of? That right now there are plans being made for you, oh my God, about you in places and spaces that you haven't even arrived at yet. That there are, oh my goodness, structures being put in place for your next big move, for your next place, for the next evolution, for the next round or chapter of your life that you are not even consciously aware of. That somebody somewhere is building the house that you are going to occupy, that somebody somewhere is starting the business that you will become an employee of and learn and gain and launch from there, that someone is being put in place and gathering. There are things that are being pointed and pulled together in different times, in different places that you are not conscious of at this moment. But if you are able or take advantage of your capacity to open the windows, you will be able to look into those moments, places, spaces, and times to observe those things as they form so that you can adequately prepare yourself for those moments and even accelerate the time between the transition, the thought and the transition to. Now, when I talk about accelerating the time, again, remember it's an anthropomorphism because time is an illusion. It just appears to be accelerated, but in fact, you are there. You are going where you already are. Good God have mercy. You're just becoming consciously aware of yourself being there. And so it seems as though you are accelerating and moving through time at an accelerated pace because you have had or accessed or used your capacity to look through spiritual windows and observe objectively what is prepared for you. I go to prepare a space, a place, a time for you. Imagine an experience and power to be able to look through the window and see the preparation of what is prepared for you so that you can align yourself with it and move and transition neatly and harmoniously into it because you have already observed it from the window. And I'm out of time. Tomorrow night, I won't be pressed for time. Tomorrow night, I'm going to get into the gates. So we've done portals, doors, windows. I'll review them very quickly and then get into gates. And gates is very extensive. Woo, when I say extensive, you need to have pen, paper, pad, recording device, or whatever you need tomorrow. And it'll be posted so you'll be able to listen to it again and again on the replay on both Facebook as well as YouTube because it's going to be a lot of information tomorrow. Meet me back here tomorrow night at 8 p.m. for our Sunday night empowerment, where we will conclude this teaching on the nature of being, of portals, doors, windows, and gates. All right, I gotta go. Listen, take advantage of this opportunity to be able to sow tonight. You have the grand opportunity and honor and privilege of being able to sow into my life and into this ministry. If you value what you have been learning, what I have given you freely, what I've sown into you as far as the teaching and insight and revelation, then demonstrate your appreciation and how much you value it by sowing your seeds tonight, by giving in some form or in some amount. As I've said before, you give as you are led, as you feel the unction to, and do that. Be moved by the Spirit. I don't have any gimmicks or games or blessed pennies and handkerchiefs and candles and all the other kind of craziness. I have simply truth, and the truth is that the way to create a current of compensation, increase, prosperity, and wealth is through giving, and that it's right for you to bless and sow into my life as your spiritual teacher, mentor, leader for some, or that someone that you are gleaning from. So take a moment right now before you get off. I see the numbers drop down real quick when I started talking about giving, and that's quite all right. But those of you who are faithful and who understand the principle, I want you to go ahead and do that right now before you get off, before you forget about it. Pick up your phone and either use the Cashapp, the Zelle, or the PayPal and give. And I will see you on tomorrow night. I'll see you tomorrow night at 8 p.m. and we will get into the last portion of this particular teaching. Make sure you are here, that you are ready. If you have not signed up for the free text notifications, you need to hurry up and do that. Do that right now. I'll put it on the screen real quick because I got to get out of here. You need to follow the instructions that you see scrolling at the bottom of your screen. That way you will get a text message that lets you know when we're getting ready to come on, so you won't miss not one moment or 1 second of the conversation. If you haven't already, go ahead and sign up right now, and I will see you on tomorrow night. Until then, you have a wonderful, outstanding, and stupendous night, and make it the best day ever on tomorrow. Good night, everybody.
Thank you for tuning in. And be sure to catch us every Sunday at 7 p.m. for empowerment.
That we are a unique expression.
Every Thursday at 7 p.m. for momentum.
The creation of God and the God who created him.
Once again, be sure to follow us on all social media platforms. And we'll see you next time.